Hi folks, I'm going to do a couple of videos here, probably 3, maybe 4, on the Novice Workbook problems for Module 1. I'm going to have to keep them short because the quality really goes down as they get longer. So let's look at the first several problems in that Novice Workbook in Module 1. Let's pull up our worksheet and see what we've got here. This is problem number 1. In problem number 1, what we're trying to do is create a one-way data table. I have a formula here, an accounting formula, calculates the interest payment in a particular period for a type of loan. What I want to do is I want to change the rate, annual rate on that loan to various values, from 4% to 6.5%. You can see the rate here is 5% divided by 12. Why? Well, because all our terms here are in terms of months, so I have to divide by 12. So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to do it right below where I've gotten it here. I'm going to, first of all, set this cell to the golden cell, the cell where all the action is taking place. This is the cell of importance. I want to copy these values of the various interest rates that I want to use directly here, not waste of time. The next thing we do in creating a one-way table is we grab the area, including the golden cell and the values that we want to change. This is a horizontal table, by the way. And we go to our data area and what if, and we engage the data table menu. It asks us for row input and column input. In this case, we have a row input. The row input is the value that's going to be changing to give us new values of the interest that's paid in the 60th period by changing the value of the per annum interest rate. That calculation, or that value that is changing, is in this cell, which is D15. I don't need to put anything in the column because I've only got a one-way table. So I put in the row value. If this had been a vertical table, I would put in the column value. Hit OK, and there you see the new values, exactly like what we had before. Let's go to problem 2. In problem 2, we're trying to use if logic to make some decisions about how we calculate a formula for the basal metabolic rate of women and men. I've got some data input here that I want to calculate the basal metabolic rate for a man, weighs 185 pounds, 5 foot 8 inches tall, and is 68 years old. Sounds a lot like me. And here is the formula that I'm going to be using. I apologize to some of you that might have gotten an early version of this workbook where this said man. That was incorrect. This should say woman. So let's see what's going on in this if statement. Here are the two calculations that need to happen. If you're a woman, this is the calculation that's done. If you're a man, this is the calculation that's done. So let's see how we can use an if to make that decision. The if statement says that the first thing for argument is whether this condition is true or false. Is C1 equal to woman? If it is, then what we do is the argument that follows next, which is the set of calculations that are seen here in the formula for calculating the BMR of a woman. If this condition is not true, in other words, C1 is man, then this is the formula that's used. And you can see here's the formula that I put into the if statement to make this calculation appear. And you can see for me, at this age, at this weight, at this height, and my gender, my basal metabolic rate is 1619.75. If I change this to woman, you can see we get a change in the BMR as a result of this new information, which is now using the first argument here between this comma and this comma to do the calculation. Before, when I was a man, I was using this second one. Why? Well, because this is the condition that's asked. If this is true, you do this. If it's not true, you do this. All right, let's go to the third problem. In this problem, we're simply trying to get used to the idea of relative and absolute addresses and how we could use them for copying purposes. Sometimes we have to copy large areas in a spreadsheet. We want to do that as simple as we possibly can. What we're doing here is we're taking a principal, $1,000. We're multiplying it by 10% and then adding it to the principal and saying, at the end of 1 year, this is what I've got. I then like to calculate what do I have at the end of the second year, end of the third year. And I do that with this formula. It says take D2, D2 is the 10,000, multiply it times 1 plus the interest rate, and that gives me the new value of my principal at the end of the first year. Notice how I placed how you see dollar signs in front of the K and the 4. That's because this is an absolute address. If I did not use an absolute addressing and copied that down, then it would be looking for values below here and below here. Let's see how that would work. I'm going to take all this stuff out of here and recalculate it. Excuse me. Our formula is to say, take the $10,000, multiply it times 1 plus the interest rate. I need to close the parens. There it is. And that's right. Now, what if I copy this down? Is this correct? Of course it's not correct because I haven't multiplied by that extra 10%. Why? Well, because I didn't use a absolute address here, and it's become K5. What's in K5? 0 is in K5. And what's in K6? 0 is in K6. So that's why I have to make sure that I make this an absolute address. I do that by hitting the F4 function for you PC users. Now I can copy this down. Now it's done it correctly. You can see the increasing values. And then I can also copy it across. And it does the very same calculations for the various levels of principal, 13,000 here, 10,000 here, etc. All right, that concludes the first 3 solutions.